Show, a weekly talk with local and national artists, musicians, and venues to learn from their experience and unique perspective. This month, we are graciously hosted by the Clearwater Center for the Arts.
This week, we're talking with Shelley Jaffe, the amazing natural and organic chef of Edible Arts Cafe. Shelley, thanks for coming.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So tell the viewers who you are and what you do.
Oh, in a nutshell. So when I was a year and a half old, I was over at my great-great-aunt's house. And in my family, all the women are cooks. And I was running around outside and I came in and here she was weaving the top of a lattice pie, on a cherry pie, the lattice top. And I was fascinated by what she was doing. And instead of chasing me away because I was so young, she had me stand up on the chair and I was holding onto the back. And I was watching her, I was totally fascinated. And at that moment I said, this is what I want to do. I just loved it. And so I had the great advantage of having all these wonderful cooks in my family teaching me everything as I was growing up. And then by the time I got in my later teens, I went to work in food service, and I got to be advised by some very good Culinary Institute of America graduates and things like that, and got to work under these people. But I also grew up in upstate New York, which is farm country. And so I started picking in the fields when I was 13, and I had my own garden when I was 13 that was about 1/4 of an acre. And my uncle was teaching me organic gardening methods, which for him were just the norm. That's what he grew up with. They didn't have the chemicals on the farm where he grew up. And so I knew how to farm organically. And so I was cooking what I was growing. And so, in 1980, I was a farm-to-table chef before anybody even knew, talking about farm-to-table. And so to me, that was a natural thing. And so that's always been a part of my cooking, is using really fresh ingredients, local ingredients, because that's what we were doing. We got our meat from the local farm, we got our produce from the local farm where we grew it ourselves. And, it just makes such a world of difference. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. So when you're creating something, like say you're making like a special meal for a certain number of people or whatever, what are you trying to accomplish as an artist?
I think the wonderful thing about anybody who's an artist is, when you first start out, you have uncertainties about what you're doing. And then gradually over time, you become accomplished to the point where somebody can come up to you and say, I need this done. And you just natively know how to do it. It's become something that's innate, that becomes part of your nature. What I love now is somebody will come up to me and go, okay, I need to eat gluten-free. And I go, all right, great. And I can come up with a dish. I had one person who came to me and said, I can't have anything but chicken breast, but I don't want to eat the same thing. And I came up with 38 distinctly different dishes made with chicken breast. So I think what happens as you become really proficient in your art is that you're creating your own things. It's kind of like somebody will go, oh, I have a great recipe I want to share with you. And I kind of go, and they're like, what? And I said, it's kind of like you get to a point as a professional in your career that handing a professional chef somebody's recipe and saying, here, make this recipe, is kind of like giving a paint by numbers kit to Picasso. It's like, why? Why would you do that? So at this point as an artist, what I love is that I can just have such command over my ingredients and everything that I can just create new things constantly. I've created an entire line of paleo baked goods, which are different than what's out there. They're light instead of being heavy. The texture is almost like angel food cake, and it's light and it tastes good and people can enjoy it. And I have fun with that. I'm to the point in my career where I can really have fun with that creativity. Wow. Yeah.
Fabulous. So who or what was like the big influence at the beginning of your career?
Influences, I have a number of them. My great-great-aunt Marion and my grandmother early on in my life were my influences for cooking. And they influenced me the most. They were the best cooks in our family, which says a lot because we have a lot of good cooks. And so they influenced me first, and then I would say probably around the age of 9 and 10, Julia Childs was a huge influence for me. And then when I started cooking professionally, when I was in my very early 20s, and I was being trained under these CIA graduates, Culinary Institute of America graduates, and I had 4 great chefs that I was living with. And so every single day was kind of like a cooking class with them. I was learning to make sauces and et cetera. So all 4 of those people inspired me in different ways. But the one thing that one of them said to me was that the Bible for cooks is the joy of cooking, not the new joy of cooking, the really old one, like in a 1950s edition. And so that book has been, since that time, for a long time, was my foundation, because it gives you all your basics. It really puts all of your basics in. So I've been influenced by a number of people, and I still today am influenced by people. If I find another creative chef, I love nothing more than to play off of another chef, and you've written music with people before, there's something where you're playing off of one another that makes it a lot different. So I've had all those influences, but even to today, anybody who comes to my life who has that passion for food ends up having an impact on me and an influence in what I do. So.
Wow, that's fantastic. Okay, we're gonna take a short break for a word from our sponsor, and when we come back, we're gonna get some samples.
At the Clearwater Center for the Arts, we bring out the artist in everyone. Whether it's classes, kids camps, live music, film screenings, or a special event you would like us to host, Clearwater Center for the Arts is the place to be. Our purpose is to imbue Clearwater with art and to inspire and enrich our community by offering exceptional events, classes, performance, and visual arts exhibits.
And we're back. Okay, so now I can't really give you a taste test, but we're gonna have Shelley describe a couple of her fabulous dishes. What's the first one you want to tell us about?
Well, the first one I want to tell you about is the paleo cupcakes that I came up with. It's a real challenge when you're baking cupcakes that are paleo because there's no grains, and you're trying to not make it a big lump of soggy mess. So I came up with these, and you can see in the picture they're nice and light and fluffy. It has a very light, frosting up on top. I like to use fresh fruit to top it off. And I don't like to use, food dyes or anything else. We're trying to keep it natural and tasty. So, so here we have almond joy cupcakes, and we have key lime cupcakes. So those are just a few of the flavors.
Okay, so like I'm a total newbie on this kind of stuff. If you don't have any grains, what's the main substance of the vehicle of the cupcake?
Well, I like to keep my cupcakes whole food. I like all my food to be whole food. So you can go out and you can buy almond flour, but almond flour is defatted almonds. So they're taking part of it out. So it's actually processed. So now you have processed food instead of something that's natural and healthy. Same thing with coconut flour. It's all processed to take the oils out so that it has a long shelf life. So it's not healthy. So what I do is I take fresh almonds and I mill them. And I mill them into as fine of a consistency as I can get. And then because you don't use sugars and everything in paleo, I like to take dates, and then I mill up the dates until I make a paste out of that. And then I use eggs. And so dates, eggs, and almonds are my base for it. And then from there, if I'm doing key lime, then I'm adding freshly squeezed key lime juice and lime zest to that. When I'm doing almond joy, I actually like to take cacao nibs and grind them up as fine as I can and mix those in there. Or sometimes I'll use a little bit of coconut oil and cocoa instead of that, and then fresh coconut. So, and it tastes like a little bit of an almond joy bite. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Okay, give us another one.
All right, so then back away from the paleo goods, traditionally the first thing that I started making here in Clearwater that people love were my scones, which is just a really basic pastry. And people have done all sorts of crazy stuff to these things. But it's a really good basic buttery pastry, and I love to take those and put dried fruits in them. Nuts, I also do savory ones, and the savory ones go really good with the soups that I make at the cafe too. So, because I'll put fresh rosemary, I like to grow my own rosemary and then clip that fresh rosemary and bake that in there with cheeses and things like that. And most people just think of scones being sweet, but the savory ones go terrific. So there's nothing like having a nice fresh scone with a bowl of soup.
Well, you're making me hungry. Okay, so what's next for you?
Well, we're going to be opening up Edible Arts Cafe inside the Clearwater Center for the Arts. And it was really funny because somebody said to me, well, that makes me think of a plate of really attractive food. and I never thought of food as an art, but I always think of food as an art. So I want to get a bit creative with the dishes, you know, and do some different things. There's a salad that I'm going to do with arugula and figs and goat cheese with toasted prosciutto sprinkled over the top. And I always make my own salad dressings. So right now I'm putting together a menu for Edible Arts Cafe. It'll open the next couple of months in the Art Center. There's obviously things that we have to do kitchen-wise and everything to prepare for that. But it'll be great because people can come into the Art Center and they can appreciate the art, and they can, with the Art Center, we try to make sure that we have things as simple as a $6 birthday card that somebody can pick up that's been created by a local artist, all the way up to buying a piece of fine art. But this way people can come in and they can enjoy the food. We're going to have games here, things where people can kind of come and relax, enjoy the environment, enjoy the artwork, enjoy really good food. And really our focus is to become that community hub, that place where people go, hey, I'm going to go downtown, meet me at the center, you know. So this is what we're looking forward to bringing to downtown.
Wow, that's fabulous. Shelley, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I look forward to eating at the cafe.
Absolutely. Thanks. Subscribe.